Hey, it's Soul with another patch 7.3 PTR video, and I wanted to show off a bunch of screenshots that I happened to chance upon, and this did not come from me. This was uploaded onto Imager by a dude named, or dudette named ThornEU just the other day, and I wanted to share it with you folks just to get a little bit more exposure, and because these screenshots are really awesome. They managed to explore all sorts of different parts of the 7.3 PTR, and well, let's take a look. First off is the capital city on Argus called Macquarie. At the bottom there we see everything on the ground and presumably we can walk on that, but if you look above you can see what looks like to be fractured parts of the city that are floating up above, which gives the illusion at least that this city is freaking massive, like well beyond what Suramar City was. I mean, just look at it. I mean, look at that kind of center area. Like towards the upper right hand corner you see a centerpiece, which is a huge sprawling walkway throughout the rest of the city. I kind of thought that we'll be able to go there, but it looks really cool, and amazingly enough, not everything's dead. It appears that the Eridar do like having some semblance of their old life, even though it's all broken up into pieces. We have another shot here of a more ruined part of the city, but check out that black void looking stuff over there. You're going to see a little bit more of this later, so I'm curious whether or not this is like some sort of tear into the void, or if it's some sort of like black portal of some sort. I don't know. The next series of shots are 7.3 content, but they're not exactly Argus. This is the Rift content that I talked about in a previous video. So you're going to expect to see all sorts of different locales where you're going to be stopping the Legion. At some point you're going to kill a bunch of bad guys, try to escape, complete objectives, and so on. These forest areas, well, I guess they're pretty familiar. They're forests. I mean, it has a kind of grisly look, sort of feel to it. But of course, with the Legion invasion happening, you can bet that there's battle damage. It kind of has that feeling of Frostfire Ridge, but at the same time, it looks very foreign, well, alien, literally. At the moment, since the area isn't populated with any NPCs, it just looks like a really desolate and dead place. These next shots have a very Shadow Moon Valley kind of feel, but at the same time you have these unique little island areas that are just floating in the sky. This makes me think that the Blizzard art team must have been really excited to be able to kind of think of whatever the heck they want with regards to these rifts and the kinds of themes that they could possibly build. For all we know, some of these might be based on concept designs that they had previously thought up that were rejected or just put on the shelf for a later time. These next shots have a very dark and kind of corrupted feel to it, sort of like maybe Spires of a Rock, or Eric, or however you pronounce it. It's almost like the whole place is a graveyard, complete with a skeleton and kind of like a blood-like pool of stuff right below it. This next area only had one screenshot, but it has a very Zangarmarsh, Sporagar kind of feel to it. It's almost like the Zangar Sea, except they just drained all the water, and here we are. The last rift that we're showing is a fire-based one. If you're familiar with Firelands, here we go. Based on these screenshots, it's going to be hard to say whether or not there are going to be just this many number of rifts altogether, or if there are going to be more, or even if there might be different sorts of objectives based on these same kinds of rifts. They just happen to be labeled as different worlds maybe. Because while these themes might not be wholly original, I think it'd still be worth using these kinds of themes in multiple rifts or multiple areas of the game. Even though these themes might not be entirely original, I think it'd be worth it to reuse them a number of times for like the same sort of rift content. The next set of screenshots take us to Antorus, the Burning Throne, and these shots are freaking amazing. I could at least tell pretty easily that Blizzard put a lot of time and effort into constructing this raid and really giving it this whole sinister feel. This particular area obviously looks like it's overlooking a boss fight. And right here, I don't know if this is like the entrance or another place for a raid encounter, but the architecture on this just looks so menacing. Like this is the house of a bad guy. The dark colors and the deep reds give it a really menacing look. Going in closer, we looks like what's probably going to be an encounter area, but take a look at the ground and the constellations. Story-wise, this might have something to do with like the Legion's planning. This might be some sort of star map, or this might be something that has something to do with the encounter itself. You guys might remember in the Throne of Thunder raid that there was a constellation-based fight with the twin consorts. Here we have a sort of hallway that's probably going to have a lot of trash. And check out this shot, which looks to be from the same room. Those brown and fell-colored fogs, it looks like it's not not just fogs that are above Argus, but it looks like they're surrounding Azeroth itself. These next two shots are also from that room, but we see also here that overhead, we see kind of the source of this fog. It's whatever we're standing above. Anyway, I'm really fond of the clean lines and the themes that seem to be kind of sort of Titan related, but kind of sort of not, and I'm really excited to take screenshots of my own once I'm able to. The next set of screenshots are labeled as the Seed of the Triumvirate, which is supposed to be a new dungeon that comes in 7.3. Predictably, this takes place on Macquarie, and the Triumvirate probably refers to Velen, Kil'jaeden, and Archimonde, the three that ruled Argus. This gives us further looks into original Eredar structures, but there's also this kind of, again, this void-colored stuff that seems to be permeating the instance. And it's not a hole like we had seen, it seems to be corrupting buildings. Unlike the pool that we had seen before, this one seems to be a sort of corruption that's spreading. And in fact, it seems to be spreading all throughout the capital. So it kind of makes you wonder how this void corruption is happening in the first place, whether it's like a void lord that is somehow making a move, or if it's some sort of experiment gone wrong in part of the Legion, because we know that the Legion does screw around with void energies. But we see over here that there's a certain contraption here, and this architecture looks very ethereal. So there's a good chance that it's not the Legion, but the ethereals that are involved. So hey, we're back to fighting ethereals again. At least maybe. Here are some more shots of this void corruption that seems to be, again, permeating the entirety of the instance. It goes as far as to corrupting this primary building here, or for all we know, the corruption might be stemming from what's inside. As we go deeper though, there's no indication of that, so I guess we'll just have to find out. These shots here are a more overhead view of the initial area that players will encounter when they first visit Argus. Now we have another series of screenshots that are largely unfinished, mostly because we can't see the skybox behind us yet. The original poster seems to indicate that this is part of the raid, but we can't say for sure, of course. This seems to be a pretty big departure from the Antorus screenshots and something that's more familiar for us players who've been playing through Legion. But unless these ships are just kind of randomly sitting there, this seems to be some sort of base of operations where there's like lots of deployment going on. These last number of shots are also unfinished, but I just find it really cool to see that kind of sort of Legion ship in the middle firing off that beam in the sky. It just has a really cool ambience and feel to it. So far, I'm really digging the environments, and well, I think that this is an answer to a lot of the critique that went into the Broken Shore patch. A lot of people were pretty unhappy with the lack of decor around the Broken Shore, lack of buildings. There just wasn't a whole lot of stuff going on. It's just a bunch of rocks and green stuff. But if we take into context the story of Legion, the Broken Shore is just invaded territory, recently corrupted with kind of quick outposts that are put up in order to facilitate the invasion. But this is really different. After all, this is the Legion's home base. These new areas, while there's still a lot of green and a lot of rock, they do have a lot more personality in them as well. This speaks to the Legion's establishment, especially when it comes to what they're willing to build, as well as what they sacrifice for the sake of efficiency. After all, this place has been corrupted or otherwise halfway destroyed for thousands upon thousands of years. In a world that looks as unstable as Argus, you can expect that only certain parts of the area are going to look even remotely clean or maintained. But anyway, that's it for the screenshots. Again, I don't take credit for these screenshots. This is all credited to Thorm EU, and I'll give a link to his Imager page below. Otherwise, thanks for watching and listening, and I'll see you guys in the next video. I'm Soul. Stay breezy, guys.